I'm beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Hey, welcome to another episode. If you do enjoy this video, consider giving it a like, as it does help the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. Last time we were operating a train, and this time we're playing this game. Game number 39, Doraemon Nobita to Mittsu no Seireiseki. No idea if I said that right. Released exclusively in Japan in 1997, this game was developed and published by Epic Co. Many of you watching this may be familiar with Doraemon, as the TV show and manga are extremely popular in Asia. From what I've been told, this game doesn't follow the show at all, but I don't know, guess we'll see. The only thing this game has is a single player story mode, so we'll be completing that to beat this game. The game opens with a gigantic lore dump. We see the Fairy King talking to his daughter, Princess Corona. Yep, that's a real unfortunate name. They learn that the king of the earth, sky, and sea were captured by the evil Demon King. The Fairy King says that Doraemon in the human world has a hyperdimensional pocket full of tools, and he wants Princess Corona to go retrieve it. The Demon King was sealed behind a barrier by those kings, but now he's escaped. Next, it cuts to the human world, where there's 4 kids along with Doraemon standing in someone's yard. They're all bored trying to find something to do. While they're talking, Princess Corona shows up and says how she needs Doraemon to help her by giving her his pocket to help stop the Demon King. Doraemon says he can't let her have his pocket, but he will join her to help stop it. Now that things were looking like they would go well, the balance of power shifts as the Demon King himself shows up in the human world. Apparently he snuck in through the portal that Princess Corona made. And even worse than that, he steals Doraemon's special pocket. We have to stop him. So they travel through the portal to the fairy world and go on an adventure. First thing they say is, let's look for Corona. Yeah, maybe y'all shouldn't do that, you know? It turns out the Demon King has transformed her into a tiny flying fairy, so now she won't be able to help us. Thankfully, she retrieved Doraemon's pocket, but all the tools inside were scattered throughout the fairy world. So we'll need to travel around to retrieve them and stop the Demon King together. Princess Corona suggests we visit Mr. Woody, as he has knowledge of all the land. He looks like a knockoff Deku Tree, honestly. He's shocked because he hasn't seen a human in thousands of years. We ask how he can defeat the Demon King, and he's like, yeah, y'all need to go rescue those 3 kings and seal him up with their power again. Finally, after literally like 40 minutes of translating the lore, gameplay. Turns out this game's like a 3D platformer. Kinda gives the vibe of Banjo-Kazooie in a way. First thing we need to do is retrieve a door from on top of Mr. Woody's head. This is the first tool from Doraemon's pocket. Basically, it just allows us to save our game and we'll spawn at Mr. Woody whenever we load. So then we go to the first level. It's kinda just like an outdoor grassy area. The trees here sure look familiar. It might be repurposed from a certain Italian plumbing game, but maybe not. The physics felt pretty good for the time. Mostly you'll just be running around and jumping. Doraemon can jump on certain enemies to kill them, and they drop cat bells. If you collect 100 of these, you gain an extra life. Speaking of lives, the heart in the bottom right shows how many lives we have remaining, and the top left is our health. It's represented by dorayaki, Doraemon's favorite snack. Right at the start, there was a treasure chest that gave me a special item. Turns out it's like a buster gun out of a Mega Man game or something. It lets Doraemon shoot projectiles to kill enemies as well. After some simple platforming, I made it to a floating island in the sky. There, a giant robot bear fell down, and it was boss time. This boss it's incredibly easy. Basically, just shoot it in the belly button and avoid its very slow jumping attack. After 10 hits to the belly button or so, the boss blew up in a gigantic explosion that was way too overkill for this game. Holy heck, he exploded. That is a big explosion! Oh my god. Did Michael Bay create this scene? Like, come on. Anyway, for beating it, we obtain a piece of a green crystal. We'll need the green, red, and blue crystals to seal the Demon King. After beating the first level, I found out you aren't limited to just playing as Doraemon. You can swap between any of the 5 people we saw in the beginning cutscenes. I'm not sure what any of their names are other than Doraemon himself, but they all play differently. For instance, this guy in yellow is a bit faster and jumps much higher. I got pretty stuck on where to go because no places in the overworld would let me in. It always said I was missing some item and I wasn't allowed to go there. So I went back to the first level to investigate a bit. After exploring more than last time, I found an alcove with a chest inside. In it, I found a bag with some kind of food or something like that. It said I would be able to get any animal to listen to me with it. With this, I went back to the overworld to the path where there was a dragon thing blocking an entrance. Doraemon yelled out some battle cry or something like that. And then we were able to go to the next level. This level was quite different in that we played as the dragon rather than our characters. It's carrying Doraemon around in a little patch like a kangaroo would. It's kinda cool. Other than playing as a different character, this level, it's not anything special. There was some basic platforming. It led to a poison river. I had to jump across some platforms to get through it, which eventually led to another treasure chest. This one had a gill tube inside, which allows us to breathe underwater. Now we can access the Sea Kingdom. I couldn't figure out what to do in that level besides finding the gill tube, so I just left and headed for the ocean. Most of the areas were blocked off down here as well, but there was one path I could go down. This led to a water level. The swimming's kinda like a 3D version of the old 2D Mario game physics. You're constantly sinking and you press the jump button to swim up a bit. Almost right away I found a chest that had a yellow flashlight thing in it. It says this can make anything it shines on smaller. This level, it's pretty boring honestly. You just swim around slowly the entire time. There's really no danger at all. I found a second chest that contained a time-bending blanket. Somehow allows time travel, I guess. And finally I found a chest with the best item in the whole game, the microphone. I couldn't find anything else to do in this level, so back to the overworld I went. There I used that flashlight to shrink a giant rock, blocking a path to a new level. The start of this level had a really annoying puzzle where you press stone buttons to cause certain things to happen. You had to have the right ones pressed, and as far as I could tell, there was no way to know other than just guessing over and over. Oh yeah, that microphone from earlier? It's the best item in the game because it allows this character to sing, and his voice is just beautiful. Oh, he sings! Jokes aside, it's actually a super strong AoE attack. I guess the game is saying his singing is so bad that it kills things that hears it. Something like that. I found a treasure chest in this level with a gold ring inside. Apparently it lets the user pass through any wall they want to. How the heck did Doraemon get all these crazy gadgets anyway? After some very minor platforming sections, I ran into this gigantic bird waddling around. I thought this was going to be some crazy boss fight, but I literally just walked right past it. And there was another piece of the green crystal. Getting closer now. So then I went to this big old door that was blocking a path, and wouldn't you know it, that ring really did. It let us walk right past. This level was way different than the others. It was all ominous and red looking, and there was a bunch of lava everywhere. Right off the bat, I found the Earth King completely frozen in ice. The Demon King sure must be powerful if he can keep him frozen inside a literal volcano. I had to try to save him, so I made my way into the volcano. I found a tiny little volcano inside the big one, and I killed it with that guy's horrible singing. Past that, there was a locked door with a green gem on it. They were saying they needed a key to open it, but couldn't they have just used that ring to pass through it like it can pass through any wall, right? Oh well. I found the key, and inside was something horrible. There was like this demon looking dude who was straight out of Dark Souls or something. It had a giant cleaver and it shoots fire at us and it can dash. I couldn't really figure out how to damage it, and ultimately I died. I decided I'd wait till later to fight it, as maybe I needed an item I didn't have or something. So I went back to the overworld where I found a red car underwater. Not sure what it was, but one of the items we found made the car come to life and we could ride it now. Inside, I found this creepy smiling dude who wanted to race me, so I took on the challenge. It puts you in like this little driving minigame where you're in a race against whatever that thing was. The driving physics, they're actually not too bad, considering this mechanic's literally only used for this one part of the game. This race was insanely easy, like I didn't see the other dude the entire time. That thing said we must be a cheater, so he's gonna tell his brother to race us cause he's even faster. Our reward was a cream that somehow lets you swim up to 10 kilometers underwater. So then I went back to the race to go against that guy's brother, and he really is a lot faster. Probably due to that propeller on his back. This time the race has little items you can pick up to give you a boost in speed, and it gets kinda hectic. The comeback? Oh, barely, dude. I barely managed to pass him at the last second, taking the win first try. He gives us a piece of the blue crystal, but says his oldest brother wants to race us and he's the fastest of all. So naturally, I went to race the oldest brother and man, he's nuts. For one thing, he's way bigger than the others, but he's also way faster, just like they said he was. I had to actually try pretty hard on this. It took around 10 minutes to win. Basically, just can't hit any walls the entire time, and you gotta get most of the boosts. He gives us a collectible item thing. It doesn't really do anything, it's just for completionist purposes. So now I took that weird cream stuff and went to a new level deep underwater. This one was another boring old water level, but at least it's half water, half land. There's this fairy who's sitting next to a sunken ship that tells us we need to get it to float because his brother's stuck inside or something like that. So I climbed on board the ship where there were a bunch of crabs and kicked their butts. Inside was a chest with a magic bean inside. Probably for a beanstalk. And then there was a button. This button extended a bridge on the cliffside that led to a chest with some shoes inside. I think. Not really sure what they are. Once again I got stuck on this level, so I left and tried a different one. Seems like this game's not very good about giving you instructions on where to go. So then I went to a patch of soil and planted that bean to create, yep, you guessed it, a beanstalk. This took me to the sky world. Basically just an extension of the overworld. I found the most platforming intensive level in the game up here. Like, look, the bridge just fell apart from under my feet. However, in the end this is a children's game, so it's still pretty easy. So then I jumped around a bit and found a big old tree that I climbed up. On top was a chest with like a thermos or something inside, I don't know. Some of the translations on these items worked pretty well and others, they didn't. I think it's because the entire game is written in katakana and the app really likes to have kanji in translations. At the top of this area was another boss, a big bird or insect or something like that. It flies around and shoots projectiles, but thankfully it's nice enough to create these big platforms so we can get high enough to reach it. After singing in its face forever, it eventually died in another one of those gigantic overkill explosions, and it gave us a piece of the red crystal. At this point, I had visited all of the levels I knew how to reach, so I was kinda stuck. My only option was revisit some I didn't finish, so first I went back to that volcano level. Turns out the boss was really easy. All I had to do was jump on its head to damage it, and it was down quick. Also, I noticed its head looks literally identical to the Chicago Bulls mascot. Like, that's pretty funny. So then I went back to the Earth King to find him no longer frozen, but he was still inside a block of ice for whatever reason. Apparently he can't get out of that until we get all 3 pieces of the Earth Crystal. So then I went back to the level where we played as that dragon thing and I found a wall that a mouse was hiding behind. It said if we freed it that we would get a piece of the Earth Crystal. So I did, but then it ran away. We got scammed, dude. I chased it down and it got all scared and gave us the crystal anyway. With all 3 pieces, I ran back to the Earth King as fast as I could to save him. He puts his part of the seal on the Demon King, but decides to stay in the ice block for some reason. Weird, dude. With 1 king down and 2 to go, I went back to that sunken ship level. It turns out this one, it needed a new mechanic. I had to shoot Doraemon's gun thing at these stalactites in the ceiling to drop them. First time it's been used in this way, like, how are you supposed to know that? With these down, it somehow caused the ship to rise up, revealing a hole in the side. And I found that dude's brother in there, who had a chest with a light gun that somehow lets people withstand any temperature. The brother also told us we should check behind the waterfall for a secret, so I did, and there was a button there. This extended another bridge, letting us reach the top of the ship. There was a new boss, a skeleton pirate thing. He's mad that we're on his ship and he's ready to fight. I didn't really have a good strategy for this one, so I just ran around with Doraemon shooting it, trying to keep my distance. It took a while, but I did take him down, getting a piece of the sea crystal. So with that weird light gun, I was now able to go into the ice palace underwater. In here was the Sea King, frozen just like the Earth King was. We have to save him. Nothing too interesting here, just simple platforming until I eventually reached the boss. Evil robot Santa Claus. I couldn't believe Santa would join the Demon King like this. He's really fast and spawns these evil snowmen to attack us. Nothing a little singing can't stop. I was able to kill him pretty easy, and he exploded in one of those gigantic explosions, revealing a present to save the Sea King from his prison. But we were still missing one piece of the sea crystal. I was pretty stuck at this point, and it took like a half hour or so of wandering around to figure out I needed to go back to the very first water level I visited. I had to do the specific events of talking to people in a certain order, which causes the water level to drop, revealing a beach with a piece of the sea crystal. With the Sea King freed, all we had to do was free the Sky King. So then I went back up the beanstalk and I found out I could get this dinosaur bird thing there to let us fly on it. This was like an awkward vertical flying section and it lagged quite a lot. You can shoot fireballs at bees that attack you and they have patterns. It reminds me a lot of Galaga. Upon reaching the top, I was greeted with a chest containing a piece of the sky crystal. One more to go. I still wasn't able to reach the final level and I felt like I had done everything at this point. Turns out you had to just beat that flying dinosaur level again to receive a propeller. This gave access to the last level I was missing, a bunch of floating islands and clouds. Somehow this tiny propeller lets these kids fly around way up in the sky. It also made this awful noise. It was way louder than anything else in the game. Not a very good level in my opinion. After flying up enough, we somehow reached the moon itself, which had a piece of the sky crystal. Now to save the Sky King. The final level was a flying castle, which we made a path to somehow with one of the items we got before. Probably should just use that propeller to fly there, but whatever. Nothing special in this level either, more platforming up to the top of the castle where the boss was waiting. It's like this centaur thing with a big jousting pole. I was struggling to figure out how to damage it, like not even the singing did anything. After some experimentation I realized since it had a jousting pole it would probably charge at me. If I move away, then it slams into the wall, dealing damage. Repeating this over and over led to the boss bringing its own demise, freeing the Sky King. With all three kings free, we had everything we needed to take down the Demon King. So now there's this flashing column of light in the overworld, and you might be wise to think that this means trouble. That's right, the Demon King's lair itself was within here. He looks like a hybrid of Ganon and Bowser, like it's kind of uncanny. He gives the whole spiel of join me and we can conquer the world, but we're like, yeah, nah. This boss is kind of wild. He moves around really fast and he teleports around the room. Then he also has a giant flamethrower attack which deals big damage, as well as a shield he can put up to block damage from us. Face tanking him and just spamming the singing wasn't going to work here. I took way too much damage and I died fairly quickly. So the next time I tried running around and kiting it with Doraemon's gun, and it worked really well. I took the Demon King down second try and he died with the biggest explosion of them all. We bring out the 3 crystals to lock him up once again and never let him out. But he says he can escape again because we can't keep him locked up. Oh man, the devs introducing the possibility of a sequel. So then we go back to the fairy palace where Princess Corona is back to her usual self and the king thanks us for saving everyone. And we're just like, aw shucks, it was nothing. I just wanted to beat the game, so I had to. And that was it, game complete. Once you've beaten the game, if you go back to your save file, you can now play as Princess Corona, which that's kinda neat. So there you have it, my journey to beating Doraemon, Nobita to Mittsu no Seireiseki. This game, it was just it was alright, you know? Not amazing, but not too bad either. It's just kind of average. The graphics weren't too great, the music, it was pretty decent, and the physics, they were surprisingly good for a children's game. Might be worth a play if you're looking for a new N64 platformer to check out. A big problem the game had is constantly being lost, and it doesn't give you any hints as to where to go next. I gave it a 4 out of 10 for enjoyability and a 2 out of 10 for difficulty. Nothing really difficult in this one. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, consider giving it a like as it does help the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. But yeah, thanks for watching, and here's a sneak peek at what is coming next. There are 347 games on the list, Yoshi's Story no longer the last game. 3, 2, 1... 238, that's not Doraemon. Power League 64. Another Japanese game. I think this might be a baseball game.